I would like to talk about audition bookends. Are you striving for more consistency in your audition process? In this video, I will discuss the value in creating stronger bookends in your audition scenes and provide you with some practical tools to help you find creativity and consistency in your first and last impressions for every audition scene. Often, a casting director knows within the first 10 seconds whether or not an audition is a strong one. Also, if they stay with you for the entire scene, what an actor does when the scene is quote-unquote finished is equally as important. What many actors overlook is that the beginning and the end of your scene are not just bookends, they're everything. If you ever walked out of an audition room or finished a self-tape thinking that something might be missing, chances are it happened at the very beginning of your scene and or at the very end. So here's how to make those moments count every single time. Let's talk about the first bookend, the beginning. So here's why the beginning matters more than you might think. The moment you step into the audition room, or the moment when the camera begins to roll, if you're doing a self-tape, the performance has already started, even if you haven't spoken a single word. Casting directors don't just watch your scene, they watch you. In other words, they watch how you breathe before your scene starts, how you are transitioning into the character in the given circumstances, how confidently you live and breathe in the imaginary world of the character before you say one single line. This moment of opportunity is something that many actors will rush past or gloss over, and it will sort of feel like you're jumping off a cliff into the first line of the scene. If you feel that way, most likely you have not fully taken care of your beginning, or in other words, your moment before. So what makes a strong beginning? The first thing is immediate clarity, knowing who you are, where you are, and what you want, informing yourself very clearly about what you think just happened before the first line. There are clues in the material. It might be the first line, it might be in the stage directions before the casting director has written in the word start, it might be in the crossed out parts that arrived with your audition sides. It's very helpful and crucial to read the stuff that's crossed out for context, so you can really gather all the information you possibly can, because you don't always get the whole script when you get an audition. If the information is general, it's our job as the actor to make a choice and decide about maybe what was just said before the first line of the scene, or what just happened, or try to get a feeling for what the character is digesting and or reacting to before the first line, and rehearse it. The second thing that helps create a strong beginning is your stillness and your intention. In other words, don't rush. Take a beat. Enter the scene with grounded energy and remind yourself about the power of presence, stillness, and silence. If you are connected in your imagination to what's going on, you don't have to rush into the first line. As Stella Adler famously said, don't rush into the words. This world that you create in the beginning, in the moment before, in your first bookend, will draw the attention of the audience, in this case the casting director, into the world that you're creating as an actor. If you have the benefit of doing your audition in person in the room, you can feel that shift at the beginning of the scene before you have that first line. If you're allowing yourself to confidently create the moment before and you're releasing into your imagination, dropping into your senses, into your instrument, that time is not dead air. You'll feel the energy of the casting director, even if they're all the way across the room, lean into you. This is a very important, special opportunity for every audition. The third thing you should think about for a strong beginning to your scene is your emotional entry point. So that is what is connected to knowing for yourself what just happened to your character. And rather than jump into the first line with the emotional weight of what might be there and feeling rushed into it, allow yourself time and space for that emotional entry point to build up inside of you. And this is where patience and breathing really can be your best friend. Here are a few more thoughts about the beginning bookend of your audition scene. A common mistake that some actors make is they start too on the nose. In other words, they come in hot and they jump into the first line, emoting through the line, and this can feel forced, pushed, and unnatural. Instead, really consider the emotional build of your scene. Sometimes it's just as simple as saying to yourself, the scene doesn't start with the first line. It starts with this whole 10 seconds or so before the first line. Sometimes it's right there in the script for you to see, and sometimes you have to make it up. So if you take the time to consider, where is my character emotionally at the beginning, and where are they going as the scene progresses, your beginning can actually reflect that arc in some way. For example, if the scene is confrontational and that first line has a confrontational energy, maybe in your moment before, you're trying not to fight, or you're struggling with what you feel inside. And that gives you more time to build the emotional energy and then go into the decision to confront from a place that builds inside of you instead of just jumping into it like you're jumping off a cliff. If the scene is a breakup, for example, maybe in your moment before you're in denial or you're clinging to hope that this is going to work out. This is where subtext is your best friend in your moment before and how you build the moment before. So now let's talk about the ending bookend of the scene. What do you do with the end so that you leave them wanting more? Too many auditions end with the last line, and then there's a hold in the actor's body, a freeze, as if the life stops because we're at the end of the script. This is a huge missed opportunity. The end of the scene is your final stamp. It's what lingers in the room after you say the last word. Whether the scene ends in silence, anger, heartbreak, humor, it should feel complete, even if the character's story is not. So here are a few practical steps to help you create a strong ending. Number 1, commit to the final beat. Just because the last line is over doesn't mean the moment is. Hold the emotional truth of the beat before you quote unquote cut. Second thing is, don't drop your energy. In other words, don't let the scene trail off. End with purpose, even if that purpose is a quiet devastation or an eerie sense of calm. You can also use an exit strategy. For example, in relationship to what is given in the scene, if you feel you're allowed to button quote unquote, the scene with an exit or a reaction or a look. Definitely follow through and use it, but don't just do it arbitrarily. And also, finding something compelling to do at the end of the scene doesn't mean arbitrarily create more dialogue. It should stay responsible to what is given in the story and in the circumstances, but as long as you're within that sense of truth, there's so many different things that you can do. The most important thing about the end of the scene is to stay in character. Don't just drop out of the scene when the lines are done, or freeze up when the lines are done. Let the silence speak the truth of the character and keep the life going. What you're conveying when you solve these things, especially about that last moment, is you're conveying to the casting director and the director that you know the job. When you're on the set, you have to keep the life going until the director says cut. Sometimes directors, that's their style. The lines of the scene are done, but they don't say cut right away. They keep the camera rolling to capture different things that are happening after the scene is over. Sometimes the actors continue to explore dialogue and improvise, and many times these moments are kept and used in the final film. So here's a quick checklist for specifying the beginning and ending bookends for your audition scenes. At the beginning of the scene, do I know the emotional energy before the first line? Am I grounded and clear? And does my first moment live and breathe? At the end, ask yourself, did I hold the final beat? Did I commit all the way through to the last moment? And did I stay in character even after the words ended? So in conclusion, the bookends of your auditions help you cultivate a relationship with all of the moments that are around the words. We know that great acting doesn't just live inside of the lines. It lives in the choices around them, in the silence before you speak, in your inner life and your behavior, in the breath after you finish. It is how you enter and how you exit. So the next time you get audition sides, zoom out. Look at the first 5 seconds and the last 5 seconds as if they are mini scenes. What story do they tell? And how can you make them unforgettable? Break a leg. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Click on the description below for links to our website, as well as our free weekly newsletter. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.